It's time for Media Watch now. Emma James is here in the studio. Good to see you, Emma. And of course, you've been taking a look at all the online reaction to the first round of the presidential election. Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron both through to the second round. And there is, of course, a lot of mixed feeling in France today.
Yes, absolutely. For those whose candidates made it through to the second round, of course, they're feeling very happy right now. But there is an awful lot of discontent, and it is very, very strongly worded. When you look on social media, this isn't just a question of being a little bit disappointed. And the hashtag Sans moi le 7 mai, without me the 7th of May, is really advocating that people abstain from voting if they don't like what they see. And it largely seems to be Jean-Luc Mélenchon's supporters.
And he got around 20% of the vote, of course.
Absolutely, which is
so.
It's a sizable figure, and one that a few months back would have been unthinkable. But what people are posting are images like this one, where it's almost a choice between two nuclear red buttons, extreme right or investment banker. And it's that kind of image, very strong image, that shows how strongly people feel about those two candidates that are left in the presidential race here in France. This one too uses a phrase that I've seen very, very regularly, the plague or cholera. Lots of people saying that this is a choice between the plague or cholera. It does seem somewhat over dramatic, frankly, but a lot of people are using that, and certainly this hashtag has been trending all day here in France. Thousands and thousands of tweets. This gentleman saying that he won't submit to fascism or the banker. Of course, fascism referring to the far right, and the banker because Emmanuel Macron himself was a former banker. This Twitter user says that they wanted a duel between the devil and the candidate of the system, which is not how Emmanuel Macron likes himself to be portrayed at all. But of course, in many ways, he does reflect the old school system. He's come through the same educational hoops, used to be an economy minister under François Hollande, of course. And this Twitter user says that is what they've got, and then descends into some rather rude comments. This slightly more humorous look at it says, when you change your cat litter and you run out of newspapers to put at the bottom, and they've used the literature that's handed out by those two candidates, Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron.
There's a lot of disappointment, isn't there? Because Jean-Luc Mélenchon was really riding high in the polls, and a lot of people were expecting a Mélenchon-Le Pen second round. So obviously a lot of sour grapes, a lot of unhappy people today.
Absolutely.
And some people are saying that Emmanuel Macron, who did look pretty surprised himself, didn't he, when he made that speech last night, are saying he was a little bit too smug, a little bit too sure of himself.
Yes, absolutely, because without question, Emmanuel Macron, while he is expected to win the second round, has quite a battle to undertake. If we take a look at this map, you can see that his areas where he came out on top are marked in pink, and the very dark blue are those claimed by Marine Le Pen. Now, of course, he got more than 1 million more votes than her, but you can see her support is certainly very widespread, and it remains to be seen who those other voters will now switch to. But what we're seeing a lot of is comments like this. Macron's acting like he's already won. It doesn't bode well for the future. And then we take a look at this. This is one thing that people objected to, the fact that he appeared to be winking as he gave his speech, having found out that he was through to the second round, clearly very pleased. But a lot of people thinking this isn't presidential, and it's not appropriate either.
He's never been elected, just to clarify, and here he is.
No, indeed. He's been a minister.
On course for the top job.
Absolutely, at just 39 years of age. Another thing that lots of people are very critical of, saying he simply doesn't have the experience. Looking elsewhere, of course, what came after that speech is something else that people have been very upset about. It's very annoying, these images of Macron with champagne in a big Parisian brasserie or bistro. It's not the evening of the second round. And if we take a look at this, this is the kind of scene that we're talking about. He went to a place called La Rotonde, which is a very famous bistro here in Paris. There have been more than 35,000 tweets about it today. Wow. This is how incensed people are, or maybe amused, that he went for this big celebratory dinner. That's a picture of him chatting to Jacques Attali, who is, among other things, was a political advisor to François Hollande, again showing that his links to the establishment are certainly there, although he likes to play them down. Now, this Twitter user pointing to what many people have said, that
yes,
this
it made me think of that.
makes you think of Nicolas Sarkozy in 2007 when he won the election then in the second round. He went to Le Fouquet's on the Champs-Élysées, very swanky
swish,
restaurant,
yes.
very expensive, much more so than La Rotonde, that has to be said.
That's where he got his name, President Bling Bling, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is an image from that night, a much more youthful, fresh-faced looking Nicolas Sarkozy, has to be said, with his previous wife, Celia. And as you say, it's one of the things that led to him very quickly being named President Bling Bling, and that was a nickname that stuck with him throughout his presidency, and it will be something that Emmanuel Macron will desperately want to avoid. Now, interestingly, Libération, the left-wing newspaper, says this really doesn't fit with his attempt to say that he is different to the political elite in France, and they actually ask, is he a closet conservative? Le Figaro, which is a right-wing newspaper, says he's been mocked or derided for being too triumphant. He's not there yet, and they point out that his lead over Marine Le Pen is not overwhelming. Now, Macron himself defended it, saying that he was just taking out friends and those people who'd worked alongside him to get him to where he was. For him, it wasn't a big deal.
Could it be a very early gaffe? Well, the polls would lead you to believe that he has got something to celebrate. Latest numbers, 64% for Macron against 36% for Marine Le Pen. Pretty comfortable numbers, if the polls can be believed.
Exactly. That is the thing, isn't it? We have not really got all that much faith in polls these days after the mistakes over Brexit, the mistake over Donald Trump. And the National Front, without question, has made vast gains when you compare it to the last election in 2012. This map really shows you just how many areas have actually switched their allegiance, if you like. Those are all the areas marked in the darker colour that show that she came out on top in those polls. Looking elsewhere, it's interesting to see that in Paris, though, she performed very, very badly indeed. Just less than 5% of the vote here in the capital city. But lots of people, including 538, which is a real opinion poll analysis specialist, saying that she is unlikely to emulate Donald Trump. As they say, she's in a much deeper hole than he was. They say we'll get 2 weeks of punditry, drawing all those parallels between Brexit and Trump, but fundamentally it's not the same. The gap is much bigger.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. 2 weeks to go. Emma, thank you very much indeed. Emma James there.